Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wasallim. Nawaitu ta'allum wa ta'lim wa mudzakkar wa tazkir wa nafa' wa intifa' wa nifada wa istifada wal hatta tamasuki bi kitabillahi wa sunnati rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa du'a ila al-huda wa dalala ala al-khair ibtigha wa shillah wa mardati wa qurbi thawabi subhanahu wa ta'ala ma'al wa ahdim rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman ladunni yashrabu safihani bi ghani. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman ladunni yashrabu bihani wa Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman ladunni yashrabu sallallahu alaihi wasallam Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wasallam. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Alright, so we are on our book Maqasid Halaqat At-Ta'alim, right? So by the great scholar, so the aims and objectives of secret knowledge by the great scholar and knower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Habib Umar bin Hafiz hafizahullahu wa nafa'ana bihi wa bi'ulumihi fid darin ila an qala. May Allah preserve him and benefit us by him and by his knowledge in both abodes. To where he has said, right? So he has said, he mentions about, so we took about on the second maqsad, right? So the first maqsad, right, is basically the first aims and objective is that all of education, right, needs to instill in the child a great aggrandization, right, a ta'zim of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, and all that Allah has made great. There is the first and the most important function of education, and the most important function of education of teaching people of circles of knowledge is to instill in every student the aggrandization and the awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all that Allah has made and all that Allah has said to be great, right, of the prayer and fasting of the prophets, of Mecca, Medina, of the Kaaba, right, of good deeds, of good character. All of these things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made great, right? So that is the first purpose of seeking knowledge, right, and the first purpose of teaching, right? And then he goes into the subject matter itself, right, about spreading knowledge. So now, right, we are basically, and he lists for us, right, things in order, and he also teaches us how to teach, right, in the projecting of voice, right, in the repeating of things, right, in the always before every class to repeat what was taken from before this class, and at the end of the class, just to summarize what was taken, right? So it's basically skills in delivery, right, skills in delivery for students, right? So then now he's into the Quran as the first knowledge that any student, right, any child is given is the knowledge of the Quran, and this is in fact the right of the child, that he be taught the book of Allah, right? So the first and the teaching of the book of Allah, right, is divided into sections, right, whereby you don't just focus on one section, but there are a few things that you have to look into, right? So the memorization of the Quran is just the first part. And the memorization of the Quran is the first part, whereby if you want to teach your children to memorize, how do you go about doing so? Then you have recitation, right? And then you have memorization, recitation. You have understanding the Quran. You have tajweed, right? Tajweed of reading the Quran, right? And you have also the other sciences to do with the Quran, right? Because tafsir is only one science, right, from the Quran. There are other sciences when it comes to learning the Quran, right? And a very good book that you can take in learning the science of the Quran is Imam Nawawi's Tibyan, right? And that book is translated into English, right? So it's Imam Nawawi's guide to those who have memorized the Quran, or those who carry the Quran lah. So even if you have not memorized, so his guide to this person having basically it's a knowledge of the Quran that Habib later on he will also himself recommend, right, to go through this book. Alright, so we actually reached the part of the intermediate students, so number 5, right? We reached. So we finished up to point number 4, right, whereby one should begin with children by teaching them to recite Fatiha properly, and then the short chapters of the Quran, and you should repeat it to them 1 or 2 chapters every day and listen to them the next day. After listening to their recitation of a newly memorized work, you should listen to their previously older memorized work, right? As the memorizing should be increased for those who are more capable, right, on condition that the memorization is strong, right, and the pronunciation is sound, right? So what he's saying here is don't rush, right? Don't rush through trying to make them be hafiz, by a certain age. That is actually not, you should never have that kind of attitude towards memorizing the Quran, because when you have that kind of attitude, what happens is that you will basically falter in the quality, right? Because you want quantity, right? So the quality will be shortchanged, right? So what he's saying, that quality first when it comes to the Quran before quantity, right? Because the quality will be questioned about. You don't want them to be reciting the wrong thing, right? And the thing about it is that this book is written by an Arab, right? Who they all understand Arabic, right? So, and in Tarim, I don't know about other parts of the Arab world, but in Tarim they understand the Quran. Right? When they read the Quran, they understand the Quran. I know in other parts of the world, of the Arab world, even, in fact, that they speak Arabic, but they don't understand the Quran. Right? But in Tarim, those that I met maybe I met those who are studying right? But basically like those that I know, right? For them, when the Habib will always quote Quran in his speeches, right? In his talks, Quran is always quoted in every single talk, right? So it's understood that that it's being quoted, meaning it's being understood lah by the people, right? So for us, I think we have to put one more thing in there, right? Which is to understand it first, right? The language of the Quran, right? Because for them it is their language. Right, so for us, we have an extra thing, right, of making it understandable, right, to those to our students. Right. So number 5, right, then he goes on, right. So and he's number 5, al-khamis wal mutawassitun يقرر عليهم سورة من جزء عام كل يوم ومن استمع حفظه الجديد يستمع إليه من 5 سور مما قد حفظه من قبل وبعد جزء عما يحفظون جزء تبارك وكذلك ويتدارسون كل يوم جزءا فيما بينهم ثم يستحسن حفظ سور الكهف والياسين وألف لام ميم السجدة والدخان والواقع. Right, so here he gives the arrangement of how you begin to memorize. So first is Juz Amma, right, the intermediate students. Right, so this would be those who are they need to be strong in their recitation first before you go ahead and memorize the entire Juz. Right, their recitation needs to be strong, because otherwise you have to redo the whole thing when they grow older. And so why for young children, they won't really rush into memorizing so much, right, because they're not able to pronounce things well yet. Right, they're still pelat, I will say. Right, they can't pronounce letters properly. Right, so this is why, like, when people do that, right, then when they grow older, they will recite everything wrongly, right, because they're so used to it since they were young. Right, so you give them what is basis, right, then when you see that they're able to pronounce things well, right, like in the CD of that young boy who reads, right, he pronounces everything very, very well. Right, so he knows exactly the makhraj, he knows exactly to pronounce the letters properly lah. So for him, he can memorize the whole Quran if he wants to. Right, but if you see your kids are not doing their za properly, right, it's always za coming out. Right, their dot is, it's hard to explain to them how do you say dot. Right, the ain, it's even harder to explain to them where is ain. Right, so until they reach the age where they are able to understand, then you continue with the memorization. Right, for as long as they're not able to do it, I won't say you can't, and you can, but you have to redo it when they get older. Right, because you need to correct all the ain and the ah, right, and the ha and the ha. Right, so it's because now all of them are saying ha. I'm hearing all of them say ha. Not a single one of them says ha. Right, and it's hard for me to even tell them also where is the ha. Right, and then it's only with age then they begin to learn where is the ha. Right, but not to stop them. Right, but when they grow older, redo it. You can relearn everything. That's what happened to most of us also when we go to these countries. Like my cousin, she memorized the Quran in Singapore when she was 15. She memorized the whole Quran. When she went to Syria, she re-memorized the Quran. She redid the whole thing, right, with the Syrians, right, because they were like, all your pronunciations are wrong. Right, so they made her re-memorize everything and correct everything, right, of what you're pronouncing. Right, so when I went to Syria, also the same thing. The Fatiha had to be corrected. Right, because the Fatiha that I've been reading all this while is to them is like so wrong. Fatiha. Right, so and in fact Tarim also, Tarim not as sharp as the Syrians. The Syrians are very, very sharp. Right, when it comes, there is a hadith lah about the pillar of Quran being placed in Syria. Right, so if you can here, right, get teachers who studied in Syria. right? I mean, the ustazahs of Singapore, they're Singaporeans, right? But they were trained in Syria. Right? So for me, my Quran reading, I'm taking my ijazah with my cousin, right? Because she got the ijazah from the Syrian side. So then she's very particular. So even my raw, she finds problems with it. So my raw kena, my fa kena, everything all kena. You're like, fa? Why is my fa wrong? Right, so but they're very sharp. They're very sharp. They can hear that you're doing it wrong. Right, so it's good lah if you can get a good teacher to do it with you. Right. So which is why in the kindergarten in Tarim, right, because the Tarimis, they are not excellent in their pronunciations. They are not, right? They're just not, right? So for the kindergarten, the Hadana there, they actually play a Syrian sheikh reading out to the children. So the children learn from the sheikh himself, right? Because they know that they can't do it, right? So they get a Syrian sheikh who actually recites it out for the kids to follow and see his mouth, how his mouth moves, right? So you can resort to that lah, right? If you feel that I'm not up to teaching them the exact pronunciation, right? You can do that. Or if you feel yours is fine, it's fine. It's okay. Sheikh Anas. He really. So the children every day they are focused on him, right? They watch him. I think he has an entire series of Juz Amma online, if I'm not wrong, right? It's on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Yeah, Sheikh Anas. He does not look like a sheikh at all on the outward. And in fact in Syria, I was in the mosque where he used to teach. Same thing. He'll wear like sweatpants and like a t-shirt and come there and teach. He's very chill. It's very chill. So you wouldn't think anything until like he begins to recite. They're like, oh, like he's very sharp in his recitation. And he will have students who will come in and because in Syria there are a lot of Chinese, because Syria is near China. Right. In Yemen, I didn't find any Chinese there. Right. So in Syria, there were a lot of Chinese, and they will come in completely mispronouncing everything. Right. So and I've seen Chinese students underneath him. They really perfected their pronunciation until they read like Arabs. Like very very perfect their pronunciation. So he really like training. That's why like I don't, after being there, like I don't believe anyone who says like, oh, I just can't do it. Like people all over the world, they are doing it. Right, so you can't say my tongue is too short, or like I don't know how to do it, like I can't do it, it's impossible. No, it's just that you've not learned exactly where the tongue should be. The moment you learn where the tongue should be, and you learn which part of the throat the sound comes from, you get it. And for as long as you don't know where, you will be like basically roaming about your mouth lah, wondering where's the letter. Right, but every person can be taught, unless you have like a lisp or a physical defect lah. Unless you have a physical issue, right, which is then that's okay lah, right? But most people is because like, for example, Ain and Ha is they're using the wrong part of the throat. They're using the bottom part of the throat. They're not using the middle part of the throat. It's the middle, right? But some people have never flexed that muscle before in their life, right? And for me also, for a long part of my life, I've never flexed that muscle. So the moment I flex that muscle, I say, it's there. It's right here. It's not here. Like, we keep taking it from here. All the kids are taking it from here, right? But it's actually here. If you can find it. Huh? Ha and A. Ha and A are both the same place. If you can't do one, you can't do the other. Right? If you can do one, you can do the other. Okay? Ha. Ha. A. Ha. A. You find this part move. If you put your finger there, that's how I was taught. You put your finger there, you know your voice box? Yeah. If you say Ha and A, you should feel it moving up. It's right there. But if you say Ha and A and all you feel is vibration, that means you're doing it from here. You should feel it going up. It should be moving up. Then you know you're doing it right. But if you just feel vibration, that means you are not doing your Ha and your A right, and the teacher can hear. She can hear you're not doing it right. And Ra is right at the back of the tongue. This is all science of makhraj, right? Of where the letters come from. Ra is the back of the tongue going up. Ra and Kha, same place. Right, but one is above, it's in front of the other one. Right, Qa and Ka is also the same place, but one is above, is in front of the other one. Right, so they pair up the letters together to find out where they are from. Right. One day I will go through makhraj, okay? Then you like feel out where's your makhraj. Then that's how you teach them how to pronounce. You don't just keep saying the letter, because they keep saying the wrong one back to you, right? So for them, for now I'm just pointing out for them the, because that one at least I can show them. I need to see your tongue. If I don't see your tongue, it means you're doing za. Right? like especially the older kids, I'm seeing like they're not sticking out their tongue. Right? A'udhu. Right, the tongue needs to come out. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Then my raw wrong. And the raw is my cousin was like, it has to be thicker. But without you muncung your mouth. You cannot muncung your mouth, but it has to be thicker. I say, how to be thicker? Say raw. Okay, raw. Huh? Yeah, you need to be smiling, but at the same time, it has to be thick. I'm still working on my raw. Okay, so that is basically it. But they're not to be so overly obsessed lah. Okay, especially for children, don't frustrate them. By being so, but what you know they can do, but they keep not doing it. That one pointed out, right? You know they can say the, but they keep not doing the, right? Or they can say ha. You've heard them say ha before, but it's like laziness. They don't want to do the ha because it's just like ha is easier, right? And they can say ah, but it's because lazy lah. Right? They just want to do the ah, right? They just, and you know they can, right? Just make them do it. Okay, all right. So what's his name, Muhammad? All right. So he says here that so one surah from the Juz 30, right, to memorize every day, right, and then when they have finished reciting what they have memorized, they should recite 5 surahs from before. Right, as they go into longer surahs, then it's just 1 page a day, and then every day 5 pages from before. Right, so it's 1 page new, 5 page old. 1 page new, 5 page old. For Juz Amma is 1 surah new, 5 surahs old. Right, every day, this is every day. If you really want them to aim towards being people to memorize the Quran, because people who memorize the Quran every day, right, it is a revision of, I mean, the highest stage. So I have not reached that at all. Right, but highest stage is that those who have memorized every day revise 3 juz. 3 juz for memory. They just sit there and they recite 3 juz. Right, every day. So every 10 days they khatam. That's why their memory is very sharp. Right, but then like for those like people like me, like beginner, right, in trying to memorize every day half a juz. Right, read from memorization. Even that I find very hard. Even that I myself find very, very hard. Right, to actually read half a juz from memorization. Right, but as you get stronger, you can do better lah. Right. With a teacher. You need someone to actually listen. It doesn't have to be. Let's say you have memorized it already, like for some time. Then you can check with anyone who can read. That means you have done. That means for me, like just muraja'ah. It's just yeah. But sometimes I don't have anybody to listen to me, so I just record my own voice and I listen to my own self. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your situation lah. But best if you can do it in front of a teacher who can correct you then. Because when I record my own voice and I make mistakes, sometimes I don't even notice that I made the mistake. Then I go into a different part of the surah. So then the whole half an hour I spend reading from another part of the surah. So when I replay, I was like, oh, I missed a few pages. Then I spend the whole time reading something else. Because nobody stopped me from going into somewhere else. Like, but right now I do it with my cousin. Right, if you can, best. But here Habib says that it is best that you do it together in a circle. Like how we do with the kids. Do it. That is the strongest way to strengthen memorization. In a circle, one ayat, everybody. Right, continuous for entire juz. Right, juz together like that. Okay. Alright. And I find that's the strongest way. Like all the surahs that I did that way, they are very strong in my mind. Right. So that is, you can do it lah. And then after that, memorize Surah Tabarak. Right, and after Surah Tabarak, then the surahs that is highly recommended to recite every day. So you have Surah Kahfi, Surah Yasin, Surah Sajdah, Surah Dukhan, Surah Waqi'ah. Right, Surah Muluk could be under Juz Tabarak. Right, so all the surahs that you're supposed to recite every day. Right, so this is what you can do. Right, if you feel after, so what I heard from some just, if you feel after Juz Amma your kids are not ready to do Juz Tabarak, because you know they don't seem to have any drive to memorize, nor will they revise, because Juz Tabarak is one of the more difficult juz to memorize. I would say the first juz, Surah Baqarah, is very easy. Like compared to Juz Tabarak is hard. Like, because you have like Surah Muluk, then Surah Qalam, then you have Surah Haqqah, then you have Surah Ma'arij, then you have the hard surahs. These are hard surah. There's Surah Nuh, Surah Jinn, Surah Muzammil, Mudaththir. Like it's like I find the whole of Baqarah in fact easier than 29 juz. But not to discourage, you can. But I did this way also lah. I memorized 30, then memorized 29. And then I did all the surahs, right? The surahs that are recommended, and then they began us from Baqarah, right? And then we have reached Surah Yusuf, right? So from down lah, from there, right? But it's up to you all. Like you see your children, and what they can handle. If you think they cannot push themselves, right? And I know of mashayikh who don't. But it's mashayikh opinion, not my opinion, right? So there are mashayikh who don't recommend girls going into it, right? The reason being, when they become mothers, it is very hard to keep up, right? But my cousin holds a different point of view. She memorized, and she feels that it's just on you lah. Like, what kind of person are you? Right? If you are driven, then you're driven. If you're not driven, you're not driven. Right? So I think the mashayikh are saying that don't make your girls do it. Right? If they want to do it, you can encourage. Right? But you don't put them in on it. Right? Because when they become mothers, they become, they get married, everything. Even you find yourselves, just to read, sit down and read already. What more revise? Right? That is going to be very hard lah. Right? To actually keep up with your memorization. Right? So just think about it lah. Yeah. She memorized the Quran after her kids became older. She had older kids, then she began memorizing Quran. So like at the age whereby your kids are independent, they're like around the age of 12, 13, 14. You're not really they don't really need you there all the time, and you can have your own time and they can do their own stuff, that kind of thing lah. Yeah. But then let's say if you have memorized when you were young, and then you did not make it firm or something, and you enter into marriage and motherhood, right? And you still have to muraja'ah, right? That will be very dangerous lah, because you will forget what you just memorized. Like what you had memorized before marriage will be forgotten after marriage. Right? So it's not easy lah. Okay? So that's why it's highly recommended that you just teach them a few. Thereafter, let the drive be from them. They need to drive themselves. Like if there's no drive, then it's okay. And memorization is great, but it's not wajib. Again, so all like different opinions. Because like all around Singapore, you find people pushing for memorization. Right? But when you speak those who memorize, they will tell you something else. They tell you that it's not a walk-in. It's a lifelong commitment. I find it very hard on myself already. Like very, very hard. That I can't even do a lot of my other recitations because all my free time is on my murajah. All my free time I'm spending on my murajah. Right? So I'm just telling you all lah. Because I already memorized, I'm already in it. It's like once you memorize, you have signed on. Right? That means you have signed up this surah. It's going to be your responsibility for the rest of your life, and you cannot pull out already. Like I'm stuck. I can't back up, because if I back up, I dosa. Because I memorized and I forgot. And one of the biggest sins is to memorize and forget. It's of the biggest sins. Right? So for me, I already memorized. I'm stuck. Not stuck lah, but basically I can't pull out already lah. I cannot pull out unless that's why I'm not memorizing anymore. I'm stopping at half. Let me just keep to this half. Because I think my cousin was like, memorize, finish the whole thing lah. And I was like, no. The half already, I'm struggling to keep up with it. You want me to do the whole Quran? I maybe in my old age I don't know. Right, so after this, so number 6. Waman. Alright, so then he says, and then after this, whosoever has a desire to memorize the entire Quran, man ragiba fi hifzi jami' al-Quran ba'da dhalik fayabda min baqarah wa yuqarrir alayhi kullu al-yawm maqra' ma'a istima'ihi fi nisf juz mimma sabaqa hifzihi wa mudarasah juz'ain kullu al-yawm. Right, this is what is expected. Right, expected. So whoever wants to do more, start off with Baqarah, right, and then memorize 1/8 of a juz. Like one Baqarah meaning one ain lah. One ain. You memorize that one ain every day. For me, I was doing 1 page a day because I cannot handle one ain. Because one ain is about 2.5 pages. Right, I couldn't handle that. So in Darul Zahra, I just stuck to 1 page. Right, so you see lah, what is their ability. Right, for a non-married person, a woman lah, non-married woman, no children, of course they can do more. Right? For me, even without children, with marriage, already that was really hard. Because you have to take care of the household, you have no helper, whatever lah, basically. It's not easy. And so one page for me was really enough. On top of that, every day you have to review. You have to recite half a juz from memory, right? And read and recite 2 juz a day. That means by looking, you recite 2 juz a day, recite half a juz from memory, and 1/8 of a juz that is new that you're memorizing. And you're like, wow, how is mother going to do this, right? Like, how is she going to do this? That's why it's for those who are not married yet. And those who are married, maybe when your kids grow old, then you can think about this. Right. Okay, so and also ملاحظة تقبل الزيادة في الحفظ ممن يرغب بشرط قوة الحفظ وصحة النطق ولتقوية الحفظ الحرص على القراءة ما يحفظه في الصلاة, right? And that you should allow them to memorize more if they are able to do more than what you just stated. What Habib just said just now, if they can do more than that, okay, then just allow them, but on condition everything is perfect. So whatever they have done, like all their revision, their muraja'ah, their memorization, all that is completely perfect. Then you let them continue with more, right? So and I'm just saying that for most of us, if we are not going to be the one to guide them in their memorization, if you're going to send them to a school, right, that does that, usually most schools, they rush. Most schools, they rush. Like, I mean, honestly speaking, like my cousin was telling me that she is teaching in a tahfiz school in Radin Mas, right? Radin Mas tahfiz school in Darul Aman, right? And even she feels that they do rush to, because you want to have the memorizers after the whole school year, right? So you push your students to rush, right, and to finish memorizing so that you can be part of those who have memorized, right? But she says she feels, it is scary lah, because you don't know how much of these students who come out will they hold on. Like, will they be disciplined enough to carry on with their own revision after they leave the school? Right? So it always, if you're sending them to a school, then always have direct contact with the teacher. Right? Know exactly, and also speak to them about it. If you see them becoming so stressed, if you see that their memory is not strong, and you yourself listen to them memorize. Because listening at least you can do. Right? You hold the Quran, you listen to them memorize, you see how strong they are. A lot of mistakes or a few mistakes. Are they getting sight every single ayat or every single page? Are they doing it or not? Right? So you need to judge. You need to check lah all these things. Check all these things. Right? I feel like as if I'm discouraging memorization, but I'm not. It's a great thing. Right? But it's just heavy. I'm just being honest lah. It's not a light thing that you force people into. Right? It's a very heavy thing. Right? Especially people of today, but we all banyak dosa, right? So if you have a lot of dosa, your memorization is even weaker. Right? And it's true. If they want to memorize, you need to cut off all forms of TV, all forms of music, even nasheed needs to be cut off. Right? And it's very serious because I felt it myself when I was trying to memorize and someone played Mahir Zain. Right? Then, and Mahir Zain is normal nasheed. Like the nasheed, it blocked my memorization. There was a block. Right? So because your heart is being occupied by the Quran. Right? So there are some nasheeds that you can do. Right? There's a science about it lah. Right? There are some nasheeds that you can do that are not blocks. Right? But they actually rest the muscle in the mind, right? So that the mind can memorize more. There are those. And then there are nasheeds that are blocks. Right? The one that are not blocks are usually qasidas. Right? Nasheeds are usually those that ring in the head. You know the kind of nasheeds that they will just like play in your head over and over again. Right? Those are blocks. They actually block. If you're trying to memorize Quran, they block. Because the Quran does that. The Quran rings in the head over and over again. If you read an ayat and you stop there, right, the ayat kind of like rings in your head. Right? So if you put a nasheed in, the nasheed will take that ringing. So instead of it being the ayat, the nasheed will take the space lah. Right? So that's why it's a serious thing lah. It's a serious thing. And at all times, like your ears are plugged with Quran. For me, I don't even, when I walk around, I have no time to plug nasheed. No time at all to put nasheed into my ears at all. Because it's just, unless I'm not on my not on my I'm on my period lah. But basically, even on my period also, I play Quran. So it's a 24-hour job at all times. Like, it's always Quran ringing in your ears. So it's think about it lah. Think about it. But I highly recommend if you can. It's very beautiful if you memorize. Very, very beautiful. Especially if you understand everything. Like, I'm shocked because you're forced to go through the Quran every day because it's now wajib on you. Like, but at the same time, you will be tasting it. And you get the reward is great. But of course, if Islam, anything that is great in the reward will be very great in striving. It's not a free gift. So, okay, any questions? I feel like you all like in shock. Yeah, I listen. But there is an opinion. In Tarim, they don't allow you to recite when you're in your period. But there is an opinion that you can recite what you have already memorized. Right? As because you're afraid that your memories, that what you memorize will go away. You can. So that one in Syria, they take that opinion. That you can. I mean, the ulama, they differ on the opinions. But you can't memorize new stuff. And you cannot read things just like that. So on my period, I will just replay. And I will recite what I have memorized. Because my period is very long. And my memory is very weak. So like if I leave it for 15 days when I cannot pray, I will forget. I'll forget a lot. So I can't afford to do that lah. And otherwise I will just play. I will revise to myself, mouthing my words. I'll mouth the words but not say it out. Sometimes I write them like on the whiteboard. But then when you write down on the whiteboard, then you cannot touch the whiteboard after that. Because it's Quran. So like I would just like so write like that lah. You can write but you cannot touch the whiteboard. Then you just take the duster and you just erase it before anyone touches it. Because it's Quran after that. You cannot. Okay lah, all these things lah, you will come in if you all see your kids. If your kids want to enter memorization, then you just go and consult someone who has memorized the Quran. Right.
So if it's like for example surah, let's say you read Surah Kahfi every Friday, got your period, then
that one is okay. It's fine.
You can read.
That one is under your wirid. If one is under your wirid, you can read at all times. Right. That's why I also recommend that if you want to set them off on memorization, make them memorize surahs that they will read often. Right. So whether or not, so it's because every day they read Surah Yasin anyway, so might as well memorize it. Right. Then you won't forget Surah Yasin. Right. So reading the Quran. Right. So about ثانيا التلاوة لابد من تعليم قواعد قواعد what is this? التهجي لمن لم يتقنها. قواعد التهجي لمن لم يتقنها. Right, so the one who does not perfect his pronunciation of letters, he needs to learn the rulings of pronunciation. They need to. Right, and especially non-Arabs, we need to learn how to pronounce. Right, that's the first thing. So before going into it, you need to correct. So every letter, read with someone who know the letters. يتدارس المتمكنون من التلاوة كل يوم جزءا على الأقل ويتابع الضعيف في تقوية حتى يكمل المصحف الشريف. Right, so those who are fluent in their reading should read at least one juz together every day. Right, one juz. You all like one juz is the Ramadan. He's saying every day. And a beginner should follow along with them and strengthen his recitation until he completes the entire Quran. Right? So do what you can lah. Do what you can. Alright, number 3. So when reading the Quran in the group, يلاحظ أثناء التدارس كونهم مستمعين ناظرين إلى المتلو في المصحف ويتركز الرد على المن بيمين القارئ ثم من يليه ولا يردون دفعة واحدة. Right. So when reading the Quran in a group, and it's a group without a teacher, so a group of students who are reading in a group, right? So everyone should listen attentively to the person who is reading and look at the Quran, right, that is being recited. right? And the only one who is allowed to correct him will be the one who is on the right. If there is a teacher in the group, then it will be the teacher who will correct. Right? So not everybody is allowed to correct. Right? This is something that I mentioned before. Right? So what in the group where it's hifz or recitation, only the teacher corrects or the one that is on his right. And remember there was one point I was trying to do the mother, child, mother, child, mother, child. Right? I was trying to do this thing. Like whereby the one on the right is the mother, right, of your own child. So you correct your own child. That kind of thing. Right? If you want to do it, we can do it. Right? So nobody else is allowed to correct him except for the one who's on his right. Okay? And don't correct him all together. Right? And even in the correction also, it's not that you say the correct thing. You just make a sound to show there was a mistake there. Right? So usually for us, if we say something wrong, the teacher will say, she'll just make a sound, or it's a clicking sound, right, to show mistake, right? Then and that helps with them correcting themselves, right? And having very strong memorization of what is the correct one. But if you give the answer straight away, right, then you're not helping. You're just giving the answer. It's going to copy what you just said, right? So you just like that, and just a sound to show something is wrong. Okay. Alright, so all our us Quran teachers Alright, so tajweed, ثالثا tajweed. يبتدئ تعويد الصغار بالإلقائه إليهم مجودا. Right, so you need to expose your children to tajweed in the mujawwad form. Right, so the mujawwad form. Mujawwad form. إليهم مجودا. Right, so mujawwadan. I'm not sure what's the mujawwad form. I don't remember reading this from my teacher. What did my teacher say? Skip it. Yeah, but then there's this thing for children to be first exposed to tajweed in the mujawwad. I'll find out what it is. I'll find out what is mujawwad. Right, they should first be taught the basic rules of tajweed, reading the text, Hidayah al-Mustafid, and then Mukhtar al-Mufid. Okay, the thing about tajweed, right, is that in Darul Mustafa and Darul Zahra, he did not give us these books lah, but he gave us easier books, right? Because I think for them, they are focused on non-Arabs. Right, so for non-Arabs, tajweed is different. Right, for us in this part of the peninsula, we use Iqra, we use Qiraati, right? We use, there's another one, right? Tilawati. We use Tilawati. There's another one. The Muqaddam was back in the day, right? There's one more. I used it when I was in Tarim about tajweed, but I can't remember the name right now. Right, but basically any of the tajweed books that focus on tajweed, right? Any of the basic books lah that focus on tajweed, right? And now all the Qurans are in a writing whereby you can even tell the tajweed from the writing itself, right? So you can, as they grow older, teach them, right, how to tell, like if the tanween are together, that means it's a clear it's idhar, it's a clear end sound. If they are slightly apart, that means you have to ghunna, there's a ghunna, dengong, right? So to teach them how to read all these things as they grow older, right? So as when they are younger, they will learn tajweed from the one who is reciting to them, right? So the one who is reciting, you need to pull it when it's being pulled. You need to have the ghunna when there is the ghunna, right? You need to, and make sure they are doing it also, like how they do the ghunna. Okay, so all of these things are all important, right?
Yeah. To backtrack a bit, reading the Quran, it says that Quran leaders should read at least one juz every day, and the beginners should follow along with them. So does that mean that when our kids are learning Quran, that we should read the Quran and they follow along? Or like, how does it work?
This one is This one is not on teaching, it's on reciting. So this one is more of like in a circle, right? So in a circle, meaning it's not a lesson time, it's a revision time, whereby they do this in the evening, in asar time. So you have like those who are weaker than others, right? So then they will read together, right, for them to follow, right? But you still need to have some time whereby they're doing it themselves and you listen in. That one needs to be done, right? So
On top of that, we have
both needs to be done, right? So there are times whereby in a circle everyone is reading together, right? And then you can read and they can follow if you want, even that way. That is basically when you are memorizing. You read, they follow, and then they become to memorize. But when you want to teach them to read, it's best that they read and you correct, right? If not, they're just memorizing what you're saying and they're not reading from the book, right? Okay, so yeah. Okay, so the expectation should be given to correct applications of the principles, and the students should recite certain verses during the class to ensure that they are placed in the rules and becoming accustomed to them. Right, so there are many different tajweed books that you can find. Right, I have not really explored the books available for children. If you all have you all explored the books for children when it comes to tajweed?
from Malaysia.
What's it called?
Method Ashafi.
Method Ashafi.
Yeah.
Ah.
Asha used that book which was running as Moses Supreme.
Ah.
I don't know when they did it in Singapore because I think that was what Malaysia.
Especially but for me, I learned mainly my Quran reading in Syria. So Syria, we focus on the rules first. We learn, but because we are also adults, so we learn all the rules first, and then we began reading. Right, so we memorize all the rules of Guna and everything. Then we enter into reading. I know for children is different, right? For children, you don't actually tell them the name of the rules, can? Then you confuse them. But you teach them how to do the rules. Like, because when it comes to tajweed, fardu ain, right? It is fardu ain to know how to do it. Right? It is fardu kifaya to know the names of all the rules, right? Or to know what the rules are. Right? But fardu ain is fardu ain to actually know how to recite the Quran correctly. Every Muslim needs to recite the Quran correctly. Right. Okay. So number 4, labud min mulahadha at-tatbiq waqt al-istima' al-hifz wa waqt al-mudarasah wa tilawah. Right. So you need to give attention, right, to a student's tajweed when you are listening to his memorization and Quran reading. Don't let it go past you. Right, you need to really focus and make sure that they are doing it right. Right, don't let them mispronounce things, especially if they are older. Right, don't allow these things to go past. Right. So, and my teacher, she will in Syria, because when it comes to Quran learning, I felt that the Syrians, I learned a lot more from the Syrians when it comes to Quran learning. For the Hadramis, they are very good in memorization. Right, but when it comes to pronunciation and everything, those who are really into the Quran, they are very, very good. Right, but the commoner they're not. Right, but in Syria, they're all fantastic in what they're doing. Right, so I remember my teacher, when she would correct me when I recite to her, she would always just, if I miss a tajweed rule, right, she would just say what's there, right, what's there. So I would just trying to figure out where's the rule. So I'll point out and she say, okay, what rule is that? So she made me, in a sense, say out the rule itself. Like, what rule do you see that? Why? Why is the rule there? Why is there this rule? How many counts? Right? How many possible counts? How many counts did you read just now? That kind of thing. So really drill. That one is on an adult she was doing it to me. Right? But that made me memorize Right? So then when I recite, that I don't miss out any of the rules. And when they memorize, don't let them memorize without the rules. Right? Don't memorize without the full mad, the full pulling. Don't memorize without all the dengong, all the guna. Don't let them do that. They need to memorize together with all the rules. Right. Okay. Right. So 5, يختار المتقون منهم للتلاوة في الاجتماعات والجلسات. Right. So those who are very good, they need to be asked to recite openly in front of other people. Right. To make them feel more confident about reciting in front of other people. Okay, we'll pause there. Right. Then he goes into tafsir. Right. And other Quranic sciences. Any questions? Any questions?
But for far, even it doesn't go into the
Mm. 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 Mm.
Change
Mm. Mm.
I've recommended to listen what they have done during the prayer. So it's not
Mm.
recommended once they have memorized and perfected it.
Yeah. Once they have memorized it, and not only perfected in the sense they have memorized it correctly, right? The strongest way of strengthening the memorization is to do it in prayer.
So it's strengthening, it's not
Yeah, it's strengthening. It's strengthening. Right? So for me, if I memorize something already, right, and usually it's the new stuff. Right? So if I finish memorizing it, to really make sure that I have memorized it, right, I will tell myself, okay, I will recite this in Surah Duha, in my Duha prayer. Right? So in Duha prayer, I will recite, and when I get stuck, then I know I have not memorized it. Because when you're in your prayer, you cannot refer to anything. Right? When you have the Quran in front of you and you get stuck, you just refer. Right, so in the prayer it will show how much you memorize. So if Duha I fail, for example, okay, Surah Zuhur I'll do it again. Right, that means I refer where I got stuck. Right, and then Surah Zuhur I'll do it again. And then again I got stuck somewhere else. Right, then I check, okay, where did I get stuck? Right, or I go in circles. Right, okay, where did I go in circles? Why am I going in circles? Because when you go in circles, that means there are two ayats that sound exactly the same, or they end exactly the same. So you must find out where they are. Then when you recite, you must be very aware of where they are. Right, so you don't go in circles. Right, so all like senses of memorization needs to be taught. Memorization, how to memorize.
How do you forget something that you memorized in Quran? And maybe like you grew up listening to this.
Yeah, that's the issue, right?
It's like that it hit me like about the 41 times because like I may not have to listen to it for like 10 years. And suddenly when it comes, you memorize, you can sing
You
along.
know exactly the words, right?
So
That's
like,
why lah.
get it.
I know it's hard. It's hard. Like today, even like Imam Zaid Shakir, he was saying that like he wants, or Shamsa, one of them, like they were saying like they have songs in their head that they heard when they were non-Muslim. And until today, it's like whenever they hear it, the thing comes back. Like, and then he's like, it's so much storage space that's being wasted. I want to throw it out. Can't throw it out. Right, but it just, it's hard lah. I can't even give you an answer. It's hard. I myself sometimes, like, things that you heard from the past, and when you hear, you enter Cheers, or you enter 7-Eleven, sometimes you don't even want to hear it. But you enter any of these like mats, and they play it on in their, and like when Muslim, and we even know all the songs of the Christians, all the Christmas songs, we know them. And I never memorized them, but because they're in every mall and they're in every shop and they're like, and when we're young on TV, it's always there. So like we know all the jingles. It's not even our celebration. Why do we know the jingles? It's frustrating lah. It's very frustrating. But I find it does bother me, especially when this. For me, it bothered me so much when I asked my cousin Mardia, like when Mahizin just came out. Right, and I'm not against Mahizin at all. It's okay, it's fine, right? But I don't listen to him, right? Because when he first came out, I asked my cousin, "What do you think about him?" And she said that for some people they need it, right? Because they're moving out of pop culture into something that is better. Right? But she was saying that, but for me, because I memorize Quran, I cannot have it. I cannot have it, right? Because it will take the space of my Quran in my heart, right? So from there, at that point, I didn't memorize Quran, right? So, but now I understand what she's saying. Right, because when I'm trying to memorize, the jingle comes, right? The tune comes. Right, so I have to not let myself hear. Right, it's just I know jemputan. You're like jemputan. It's like it's actually pollution. It's all pollution. It's all pollution. But you need to Astaghfirullah. Take your this one, plug inside and then play some Quran or something. Right, but if it's hard lah, I think those who memorize it's a struggle. Right, but she herself, my cousin was saying, she keeps telling her students who are in Naren Mas, who are memorizing, but there are those who are very much into music, listen to music, TV, whatsoever, and they're trying to memorize Quran. And she's trying to drive through to them. You cannot do that. You cannot. The Quran, they say the Quran fihi ghira. The Quran has jealousy. And the moment your heart is occupied with something else, the Quran goes away. It turns away from you. And rajuk with you completely. Like you cannot mix. You cannot. Like I can't even like emphasize it further. I don't listen to any of these songs. I just don't. And TV even worse. The moment you watch TV or you watch movies or you watch whatsoever, all your Quran goes.
But nasheed,
Nasheeds, of the ulama, of the awliya. what I have found are the nasheeds of the awliya, like Imam Haddad, and they're all memorized of Quran. Of the like Habib Ali, Al-Jifri, that like of the awliya, right? Those I feel they rest the heart, and then I can memorize further. Like last night I was doing it. Last night I was revising, and then I felt very heavy lah. Like I couldn't continue my revision because my mind was getting very tired last night. So I paused for a while, right, and then I read Imam Al-Haddad's Nasheed. Right, I read it out loud. Right, it's like a resting of the muscle. It's like cooling down. I rest the muscle, and then I went back to the Quran. Okay, then it was stronger. Right, so then the awliya I have something else. Right, but not just anybody's nasheed. Because there are a lot of nasheeds out there that are not, you don't have the niyat of the awliya, the dua of the awliya, the secrets of the awliya all in there. Right, and Kafani is one of the strongest one. I find Kafani very strong in relaxing my mind and my heart, and then I can memorize further. Kafani, a lot lah, ada banyak kan. And what the awliya have done is enough for us. You don't have to go into anyone else. And if you can't find any awliya, then selawat. So many selawats you can do. Like there is. So there is no need lah. If you want, there's no need. For kids, of course, for kids. You let them have it. The city rice. Yeah. To memorize.
Okay, I'm gonna start. I have to do that because
Yeah, it's very fast, very fast. Especially the other side, like what you're saying, the other side. They write their song. Syamda has a talk about it lah. Syamda has a talk about music and how.
But the little session also mentioned that I think Instagram's okay. It strengthens language. Yeah.
If not, there's no bad.
It's just that, I feel that because
Yeah lah, memorize lah.
because it strengthens language because they get to know sentences how it works and also rhymes. Yeah.
And there's an Islamic version, right? Who created you there as you are, kan? Like twinkle little star, who made you there as you are? Apa? Above the sky so high, like a diamond in the sky. Who made you there as you are? No, I'm not what I wonder why you are. It's who made you there as you are. And then adalah about there's the book lah. That's all it rhymes into Islamic form. Yeah. PPS. That's the one. No, I know it's in there. But there's the thing about the dark side lah. Syamda has talked about music, of how they write it in a way whereby to make it stick in you. Right? So it's written in that way to make it stick in you. Right? And it's on a tune that does follow a La ilaha illallah tune. Right? So because they, like these people lah, whoever they are, they know that the soul resonates with La ilaha illallah. So they take the same tune and they twist it and they put bad words in. So the tune is there, but the words are bad. So that when you hear it straight away, your mind goes into it and it goes in the circle in you. And when you pray, it just goes through you. When it should be La ilaha illallah instead. Like, like it's a talk. I can't remember what talk it was. It was very fascinating because he will show the song, then he'll be like, you see, you remove the words, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. But it's just they replace the words with bad words. Same tune for the soul to resonate. Right, so you resonate with bad words that has the same tune of La ilaha illallah. It's a science lah of science. I know Syamza banyak benda kind of things. Yeah, so that's why it's like 20 years ago you heard it. Up till today, you're on it, and it's a good thing when it's good. It's a bad thing when it's bad. And you can just astaghfirullah, get out of church as soon as possible. Go to any jemputan, you're like, Allah. Yeah lah, jemputan lah. You go jemputan. That's when you hear all the songs.
You can't even talk to each other.
That's why. That's why.
Karaoke and jemputan.
You can't. Yeah lah, you come early, you eat, you chow. You don't hang around. I know like some of the ulama did say like that if you know a jemputan is going to be haram, right? A lot of mixing, a lot of singing, a lot of whatever, right? There's going to be a lot of haram at the jemputan. Then this is what some of the ulama have said lah. Then you come either before it, right, or after it, right? So you respect the people by coming before. They say the day before. It means you just go to the house and you give congratulations and you give money or whatsoever, and then you go and say I can't come tomorrow, sorry. You seek permission to not come, or you tell them you can't come, and then the next day you come. Right? If you know for sure their gathering is going to be maksiat, if you know for sure, these people confirm there'll be a lot of maksiat there, right? You can do that. Right, so and then they will cover you for the wajib of going for jemputan. But of course, if it's family, you find a way out. If it's close family, you can't weave your way out, right? You can, yeah. So Allahu a'lam bissawab. Okay, so.
They have all the mass dances.
Huh?
They have the mass dance. It's a
Men's dance.
Yeah. So like macam.
Do they actually dance?
Not. I mean, like your friends. So let's say your friends invite you, then like they have mass dance. What is it called, mass dance?
Oh, you mean everyone join in, is it? Mob dance.
Oh.
Let's mob dance.
Oh, now it's a trend.
Yeah.
Ya Allah, ya Rabbi. But you don't have to take part, right?
You don't know suddenly it happened.
Alhamdulillah, I've not been invited to one of those. Okay, gonna pause there. Alright, sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallam. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. الفتح ويرزقنا علما نافعا ودلنا من السلام وإلى أرواح المعلومين مشايخنا ولا حط النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر الذين آمنوا وصلحت الرسل. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.